Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3880, and today's date is April 9th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Central Bank System Has Always Been a Scam. Watch who is buying gold. That tells you everything. Now, we all know Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. They create the panic, wait for you to dump your position out of fear, and scoop it up at a discount. The big banks aren't selling their gold, they're buying yours. Every time the headlines scream, regular people sell, every time regular people sell, the institutions are right there, waiting with open hands. You built portfolio insurance for a reason. Don't let a red day hand it over to the people who cause it. That's why I tell people to talk to Noble Gold Investments. They will help you build a long-term plan, and more importantly, help you stick to it when the noise gets loud. The minors' up and downs, that's weather. The long-term trend, that's climate. And the climate has been favoring gold for 5,000 years. So the next time you see a dip and you feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself one question. Am I making this decision, or is Wall Street making it for me? Don't let them shake you out of the position you built to protect yourself. That's exactly what they want. And right now, all new qualified accounts receive a 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold in your hands, that's the whole point. Go to x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum. When you look around this country, and not just this country, but around the world, you start to realize that all the complaints, everything that's everyone's talking about, where, hey, we have to help the homeless, we have to feed the poor, we don't have enough money for this, fraud everywhere, we have pollution because we have to use plastics. Where does this all come from? Why do we have all of this? Because of the private West Central Bank system. And I know people are going to say, well, you keep saying this, you just keep going over and over and over this, but put it into perspective. The value of the currency declines over time as the criminals in D.C., as they continually borrow and they put it into circulation. What happens? It dilutes the currency, which means it makes it harder and harder for people to survive, which means you're going to get a lot more people that are homeless because there's no jobs, especially when you're moving the jobs out of this country. Once again, because why? Because the value of the currency is declining. And if you kept all the manufacturers and everything in this country, everyone would realize, wait a minute, why is everything so expensive? To hide that, they had to move the manufacturers out of this country and pay people pennies on the dollar, slave labor in other countries. So this way they could ship it back without tariffs whatsoever, China using loopholes. So this way you wouldn't notice the difference. In the meantime, what was happening? The value of the currency was declining. And declining rapidly, which means the jobs have been sent overseas. There's less jobs here. And the jobs that are here, they're service-oriented jobs, which means people can't live on that money. And as the value of the currency declines, it becomes harder and harder for people to make ends meet. Then if you add in all the fraud and all the borrowing for the fraud, that puts even more money into circulation. And what does that mean? That means people struggle. And when you look at manufacturers who had to stay in this country, they had to ship their items. We used to use wood boxes. We used to use glass. We used to use metal. Those are very, very heavy items. As they control the entire system and control the oil out in the Middle East, shut off the oil in Venezuela, make sure you don't drill in the United States. This way they can keep the oil prices up high. Energy became expensive. Shipping became expensive. So what did the corporations have to do? They had to figure out another way to ship cheaply. So they turned to styrofoam. They turned to plastics. They turned to all these other things because of the system breaking down. If you still had oil at 20 cents a gallon or 15 cents a gallon, and we had no inflation, we had sound money, would we need to do that? No, we wouldn't. Just like those people that need to make ends meet, you have a lot of credit cards because the salary that's coming in doesn't cut it. You're not You're not keeping up with inflation, so you need something else to assist in that. The Ds, the deep state players, the central bankers, had to bring in illegals into this country and pay them a very low wage to keep their system operational. Just like we had to find people, not we personally, but the deep state players had to find labor outside of this country and pay them pennies on the dollar. This is why we're seeing all this. And think about it. Go back in time when we had a major crash in the 30s. I mean, who do you think really pushed that? Then they created Social Security. One gigantic scam. The entire central bank system has been a scam on America. It's been keeping America down. And to pay for all of this, they went to every single American and said, hand over your money. Hand over your hard labor, the money that you've been earning. We need it because we need to pay for everything that we established. And as years go by, they want more and more and more. And this is what you're seeing now in the blue states. Remember, they went total socialism. So now people are leaving those states. And you know what they're doing? They're penalizing the people that are leaving the state. Because once again, they can't keep their system operational. Why is their system falling apart? Because there's so much corruption, there's so much money laundering that they have no money because it goes everywhere else. Plus, if you're not getting the money from the federal government, you're in a tight spot, aren't you? But you could see across the globe how bad it really is. When you look at California, for example, and you look at that high-speed train that's been going on for, 20 years or something like that? They're saying now it's going to cost $126 billion, more than triple the original price tag. And what do they have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. So there's $126 billion. You're never going to see that train built unless Trump gets involved. But otherwise, with Gavin Newsom handling it, you're never going to see that train built. That's why it doesn't exist. Because they're taking the money and they're laundering it out of the state. I mean, out of the project into other places in the state, into people's back pocket, back into circulation, which is then devaluing the currency. So they'll just keep that going. And all the people are saying, well, instead of going out in space, maybe we should have used the billions of dollars to pay for the poor. Well, what about the $126 billion that was used for the train? And the train's not even built. At least we made it into space. At least we were going around the moon. At least that was accomplished. Here, you have nothing accomplished. So what we really need to do is we need to back out of this and start to say, why is this happening? You got to go to the source of the problem. Just like a disease. You have a disease. Yes, you might have many symptoms. You might have a rash. You might have pains in your joints. You might have other type of symptoms where it's hard to breathe. But again, if you don't tackle the disease and you just treat the symptoms, the disease stays there. That's what we've been doing for a very long time. It's time to change all of this up. And what we're seeing right now is the fixes that they had, the Band-Aid fixes where, oh, we'll just raise minimum wage. Oh, we'll just do this. We'll fix that. Those things do not work. Those just mask the problem. And what's very interesting is there's a new study that shows how devastating California's minimum wage hike has been on the Golden State's economy. And it's awful. A $20 federal minimum wage would squeeze small businesses, reduce hiring, and undermine the kind of broad-based growth that comes from more jobs, more flexibility, and more opportunity. California's increase of minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour has led to higher menu prices, reduced employee hours, elimination of overtime and benefits, and accelerated automation. Higher menu prices, reductions in employees, loss of benefits, loss of hours. Is this helping anybody? No, it sounds good, but it doesn't help people. A related study on Los Angeles hotels, following a separate local minimum wage ordinance for hotel and airport workers signed by Mayor Karen Bass, found that hotels have eliminated or plan to cut about 6% of positions, or roughly 650 jobs. So when you start to look at this, you could see that raising the minimum wage doesn't help people. It sounds good. Everyone like, yeah, this is great. Now I'm going to make 20. Wait, I just lost my job? Wait a minute. The place is closing because they can't afford anything? See, we're treating the symptom. We're not treating the actual disease, the problem that's causing all of this. And if we did a nationwide $20 minimum wage, it would sharply raise labor costs across service, retail, hospitality sectors. But on a grander scale, forcing widespread price hikes, reduced hours, and accelerated automation similar to California's fast food experience. Businesses responding to higher costs have already cut employee opportunities, eliminated overtime and benefits, and installed labor-saving technology, patterns that would scale nationally and slow hiring. So, now we all know Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. They create the panic, wait for you to dump your position out of fear and scoop it up at a discount. The big banks aren't selling their gold, they're buying yours. Every time the headlines scream, regular people sell, every time regular people sell, the institutions are right there, waiting with open hands. You built portfolio insurance for a reason. Don't let a red day hand it over to the people who cause it. That's why I tell people to talk to Noble Gold Investments. They will help you build a long-term plan and, more importantly, help you stick to it when the noise gets loud. The minors' up and downs, that's weather. The long-term trend, that's climate. And the climate has been favoring gold for 5,000 years. So the next time you see a dip and you feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself one question. Am I making this decision or is Wall Street making it for me? Don't let them shake you out of the position you built to protect yourself. That's exactly what they want. And right now, all new qualified accounts receive a 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold in your hands. That's the whole point. Go to x22gold.com. That is x22gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Doing this is not going to help us. And we need to start to look at the states that have already been doing this. And how is it affecting them? Well, those states that have been doing this, following this agenda, it doesn't work. Como News put this out and said, across the country, at least 10 states, including Washington, are now exploring or have already passed an exit or wealth tax to combat revenue losses from residents fleeing to lower tax areas. You see, the central bank system does not work. It's a gigantic scam. They've scammed the people. And these states that are pushing the scam really, really hard, you can see that it's a complete and utter disaster. Margot Cleveland responded to all this and said, when you find yourself erecting the equivalent of a Berlin Wall around your state to keep people from escaping, you just might be a communist. Absolutely. And that's what this system does. They're shifting everything because the system doesn't work. Eventually, what they really want is total control of the people. And when you look at all these states, I think there's like 5.4 million people that have already migrated to pro-Trump counties since 2020. So basically, we're seeing a divorce right now. And the people are saying, we've had enough of this. And they're going to the places that aren't hit as hard as the blue states. But eventually, it will catch up to every single state, which means we need to do a couple of things. We need to identify the problem. We need to remove that problem and institute something else. And that's what President Trump is doing right now. He's identified the problem. It's the private West central bank system. He's created a new system to combat and compete against that system. He's shutting down their worldwide system that they had to control it. And yes, there's other agendas associated with that. But this is what he's doing to stop all of this. And when you look at this, you could see that the deep state players, they tried to stop him every step of the way. They tried to blame him for a lot of the things that they have caused. And they've done it on purpose. The central bank does it on purpose. How do you think they came into existence for the third time? Because they create the atmosphere and then they say, we can fix it. So they create the problem and then they say, well, we can manage it for you. Just bring us in again. They did this the first time. They did it the second time. And they've done it the third time. The third time, Trump is going to be getting rid of them. Now, think about this. They tried to mess up the economy before Trump even came into office. Biden/Obama's economy was a complete and utter disaster. They just hid it from the public. I mean, people felt it. When you went to the store and you went to the gas pump and everywhere else, you knew something was wrong. You knew that, hey, how come there's no jobs listings? What's going on here? Why are the wages going down? This doesn't make any sense. And why am I paying so much? Why can't I actually make ends meet? Something is happening right now. So once again, you could see that they tried to do whatever they possibly can. They even faked the job numbers. They faked inflation. They fake it all. It's a scam. It's been going on for a very long time. And think about what they did with the egg prices. They burned down egg farms and destroyed the chickens just so they can raise the egg prices. Yeah, they blame it on the avian flu. Isn't it amazing how it just disappeared? Isn't it amazing how no one's getting sick? How everything's okay? And think about it. When he came into office, eggs were what, $8 per dozen or something like that? And since he's been in office, since he corrected what they did, he was able to bring the egg prices to 23 cents per dozen. Think about that for a second. So where are all the people out there that were complaining in the very, very beginning that look what you did to the egg prices, which he had nothing to do with? Where are they? Aren't they out there saying, hey, look, great job. You brought the egg prices down? Because the whole thing was a scam. Just like Social Security has always been a scam. Libertarian-in-Chief wrote this: by the time I'm 67, over $600,000 will be paid into Social Security on my behalf. The money would have been worth $1.9 million if I had gotten a 5% return. My annual interest would be $95,000. The government promises me $3,000 a month at 67, which is $37,000 a year. Joe Lange responded and said, Social Security was always a scam. The government has been stealing the American people's money and spending every dime on their favorite NGOs and a myriad of other ways to pocket taxpayer money. The people like Rand Paul are fighting to preserve the scam and want the American people to work till they're 70 so they can fund the current retirees who aren't getting half the money they should have. End the scam. And think about it. It was called Social Security. They were already paving the way for socialism. And again, this is something the founding fathers never wanted. Why did they create Social Security? Because we had the crash in 29. And who do you think caused the crash? It was the bankers. They wanted to implement certain things. This is what they do. Don't worry, we'll make it safe. We'll make sure everyone has a retirement. But what they didn't tell you is that if you took matters into your own hands, you could have a better retirement and basically you wouldn't have to depend on the government. But they wanted everyone to be dependent on the government. That was their whole plan. And now Trump is going to reverse all this. Is he going to hit Social Security right now? Absolutely not. In the future, will he? Most likely, yes. I think we're going to see a lot of these programs completely and utterly disappear. I think a lot of these programs that were created by the central bank system and the deep state players are going to be removed because, again, the system is based on their entire scam. And when you go back to the founding fathers, they wanted everyone to be independent. If you want to have a retirement, well, you could work for a corporation that gives you a retirement, or you can set it up yourself, just like Social Security. Now, it's up to you if you want to do this, just like everything else in the world. You can't depend on anyone else to do it for you. So once again, if you would like to go to a financial planner and say, listen, I want you to take this amount of money out. I want you to invest it into something safe where I'm getting this much of a return or whatever. And this is what I want you to do throughout my working years. Instead of giving it to Social Security, you're going to come out way, way ahead of Social Security. And you have to remember, Social Security is just a way to get more money from you because they know you're not going to live that long because they've been making you sick and sicker and sicker and sicker as time went on. So they know that lifespans are shortening, and they did this on purpose. Think about how they planned all this out. It's absolutely unbelievable. And this is why Trump is putting all the pieces in place to basically break the chains of your enslavement, to set you free from all of this. I mean, think about it. You have the hidden tax of inflation, where your currency is losing value. So basically, when you go to the supermarket or you go to any other place and you have to shell out more of those pieces of paper, I know people use the digital money too, but again, I mean, let's just use pieces of paper because it's easier to say. You have to shell out more of those pieces of paper. It's because those pieces of paper have lost value. That's one tax. Then you pay sales tax. Then you're getting an income tax. Then you're getting a state tax. And then you have your Social Security money that you have to pay into. You just keep paying and paying and paying. And when you look at your check, you go, where did it all go? It makes no sense whatsoever. You see, the whole system was designed to keep you in a spot where you never succeed. And now Trump is breaking the chains and setting us free from all of this. And all you got to do is look at who's buying the gold and ask yourself a simple question. Why? Why are they buying gold? Kobisi letter on X, but the sound said, global central banks bought 19 tons of gold in February, posting their 23rd consecutive monthly purchase. This follows 6 tons in January, with year-to-date purchases now at 25 tons. The National Bank of Poland led with 20 tons, bringing gold reserves to 570 tons, or 31% of total FX holdings. The Central Bank of Uzbekistan added 8 tons, lifting its gold reserves to 407 tons, or 88% of total FX holdings. China purchased 1 ton, marking the 16th consecutive monthly purchase, purchasing the total of 2,308 tons, or 10% of FX total reserves. Meanwhile, Turkey, Russia saw the biggest declines in February at 8 tons and 6 tons, with Turkey later selling an estimated 120 tons in March to fund FX operations amid the Iran war. Central bank gold demand remains strong. So you have to ask yourself a very simple question. Why wouldn't they ramp up their holdings in their paper currency? Why would they choose gold? Because they know that's the money. They know the paper that they're sending out to all the serfs in their countries. They know it's really worth nothing. They know the real value is silver. The real value is gold. The real value is Bitcoin. This is why they let you use the paper. This is why they keep the gold. And it's done on purpose. This is why they spent a very long time convincing the American people that gold is a barbarous relic. Gold is not worth anything. Gold is only used for jewelry. Silver is not worth anything. Don't hold any of it. The real money is the paper. Don't look at Bitcoin. Don't look at cryptocurrency. Don't look at any of these things. They've done it on purpose to keep their illusion alive. And I think in the end, what Trump is going to do, he's going to break that illusion and people are going to see the truth. And every step of the way, he's dismantling the central bank scam system across the globe. The one that they set up going all the way back to 1913, but really in the 70s when we came off the gold standard, that's when it really accelerated and moved forward. And he's now shutting it all down. And he's going to continue to do this across the globe until that time comes where we go and remove the source of the problem. And that is the central bank system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.